This next video is about how I met Teresa Belongia and what the circumstances are. Teresa Belongia is now a Weston Mickey conspirator, I guess. That's what he says. Personally, I don't believe anything he says or anybody he's talking to because it's all just a bunch of lies. But anyway, I had bought a Mercedes in Chico after a little black C280 after I moved down to Chico on Weston Mickey's scam to deliver marijuana for his fake delivery service, and that really didn't exist. And I mean, he was just literally selling weed to college kids and not making enough to survive. But anyway, I'd just been screaming and yelling in a Paradise parking lot, petitioning for a couple of months, and I was screaming and yelling at him because he was extorting me for money and threatening to murder me and have my body chopped up and thrown up in the mountains and eaten by bears and all kinds of other random shit, whatever he was doing. And then I was screaming and yelling at my mom in pain because of what Weston was doing. And at the time, I had been really, brain damage from being beaten in the head with guns and shot at and beat to death and whatnot in Georgia. Not too long before I met Weston. So after spending enough time being threatened and extorted and bullied and conned into letting him borrow money for cigarettes, Starbucks, and paying his electric bill, buying his wife tampons, Regina Mathes, and all this weird shit that he was doing in Chico, I finally had enough. And there was a marijuana petition going on in Butte County, which I wish I could have stayed up for, but it was being run by Eileen Ray and her minions, Brian Schreier. So you can check out my Be Human Period channel, the video about how the marijuana went with Eileen Ray and Brian Schreier in Bakersfield is a good example. Another reason why I left Butte County at that point. So I ran up to Shasta County, where there was also a marijuana campaign going on. So I just took my Mercedes, went up there. I was sleeping in a Safeway parking lot in my Mercedes, petitioning for the marijuana. And I ended up meeting Teresa Belongia. And, she's kind of, she worked at the Dairy Queen, and she was just all of a sudden, I don't know, obsessed about me. And, we ended up kind of hooking up once. I mean, it was really nasty because she was an older lady. I was at the time, I don't know, 27 years old, and she was 45 or something like that. This happened back in 2012, and I think it was 2012. Anyway, she was working at the Dairy Queen for minimum wage, whatever, and she had a son, Jeffrey Belongia, and she said she was going to lose her house that her dad died in, Claude Belongia, and she was supposed to get the house through the will, and she deserved it. I thought, poor woman working minimum wage, losing her house, got taken out of the will wrongfully. And come to find out, she told me that her brother, Stephen Belongia, special agent, FBI, took her out of the will with her sister, which was a secretary of John McCain. And they basically, I don't know, Claude Belongia, they took him to a hotel. They didn't support him. He fell in the shower. He ended up in the hospital with, not a conscious mind to sign the will and make the changes. Anyway, if you want to look up the legalities about that, go ahead. But I thought it was all wrong. She was going to lose her house at 3251 School Street in Reading. And I thought, well, I could offer her a petition job. She could make a bunch of money, pay her electric bills that were overdue and other bills, and I could get her energy assistance. And I thought of all these plans that I could help her with. I mean, I wasn't really attracted to her, but I wanted to rent a room. And I didn't really want a relationship with her. She took it all the wrong way. And so I started taking her around town. She started wanting to hold my hand, make me call her beautiful, and all this weird shit around town. And I just started being weirded out, but I already paid rent. I already moved my stuff into her house. And so I was trying to figure out a way out of this because, I mean, she was just batshit crazy. Well, anyway, it was like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks went by, and I finally found a way out. She was gone for a little while. I started running in and out of the house, getting my stuff. She came back and saw me and flipped my stuff out of my hands in the driveway and started to try to tackle me in the driveway, headbutt me in the chest. I had to hold her by her shoulders to stop her from just like headbutting me and stuff like that, and trying to restrain her because I needed my driver's license. Well, anyway, I got my driver's license, got the hell out of there, got pulled over in Northern California because one of my blinker lights was out in my Mercedes, and then they tried to get me on a marijuana DUI. I did not, I mean, obviously, if you smoke marijuana, it's in your system for like 30 days, so I wasn't giving them any evidence. It's called a refusal. I went to jail. There was no evidence. They let me out in the morning. And then I made it to Washington State and started petitioning. Well, a couple of days after I made it to Washington State, an investigator called me up and said, "Where were you last Friday? Were you at this address with Teresa Belongia?" And that's all he said. And that's all they needed to press felony domestic violence, spousal abuse charges on me. And turns out she went to the cops and lied 2 days later after I escaped, and the whole plan went south. And then it went so bad that she stalked me up to Washington State, hitchhiked with truckers up there, found me, asked somebody where I was, found me, made her work with me, slept in my Mercedes at the docks in Edmonds, and she claimed that she was pregnant, and I was, kind of naive. I believed her. I was like, maybe I'm gonna have to be a father to this crazy idiot. I made a mistake, slept with her once. Oh well, things happen. I'm gonna have to take responsibility. Well, it was just all a lie. She got me fired off that campaign in Washington State, dragged me back to California, and then when we got back to California, she called the DA and said in front of me and said, "Is there felony charges pressed on Aaron Anderson?" And the DA said yes. And she basically let me hide out in her house with the felony warrant out for my arrest for this made up police report. And I had really a lot of trouble turning myself in because, I mean, it was just so crazy. And, all I had was good intentions, and I found another narcissistic sociopath just like Weston Mickey. I ran from one in Butte County, found another in Shasta County, and then I wound up on charges. I finally turned myself in. I was on an ankle bracelet, and she extorted me to drive my Audi around town while I was on an ankle bracelet. I had to get another address at a sober living AA house. I got a job, worked 7 days a week, so I wasn't harassed by her. She came by my work. She came by my house screaming rape in my neighborhood if I didn't hand her over the keys. She forced me to come to her residence every night and have sex with her. I didn't want to have sex with her. It was horrible. I felt like, my parents know all about this. I gave up and I bowed to her extortion and asked my mother, Jonna Anderson, call her up. I couldn't find a way out of it. She said if I came and had sex with her and told her I loved her and developed a life, she'd write a letter to the DA explaining that she actually attacked me on the way out of the house. And I didn't attack her. And she wrote a letter, got submitted to the DA, the judge, and my lawyer. But the DA refused to take the charges back. She said it was the best recant letter she ever heard, but they only offered me a misdemeanor domestic violence plea. And Teresa found out that I was leaving town from Weston Mickey and I wasn't going to stay and develop a life with her. Then she met me in some random parking lot and claimed that she was going to have Jeffrey Belongia claim that I molested him when he was 16 years old or something. So I took the plea deal. I wanted out of all the batshit crazy stuff. Oh, and by the way, her son Jeffrey Belongia stole my Mercedes and totaled it into a road sign in the middle of the night and was not charged with GTA, and he was 17 years old with no driver's license. And the story goes on and on. The story's horrific. If you want more details, get in contact with me at behuman@gmail.com. Spell out the period, PERIOD.